G'day guys, and welcome to another episode of Comics to Movies and More. I am your host, Sean Keenan, and as always, I have Stephen, my co-host, with me. It's just the two of us tonight. We are going to be talking about the movie Clash of the Titans and giving everyone an update on what we have going on, both with Comics to Movies and Stephen's work as well. And we're also going to open the floor up to everyone that's tuning in tonight to do a little bit of an Ask Us Anything that you want. So if you're thinking about crowdfunding, if you want to talk about the creative industry, or if you just want to talk pop culture, pop your questions in the chat and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. But before we begin, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and click that notify button. Stephen, how are you tonight, mate?
I'm good. We forgot to mention as well, we're taking a break. I can't believe it's actually crept up. I'll be honest, this year has absolutely blown past. I can't believe it's almost April already. So next week is Easter. Yeah, where's the hat? I always compliment the Kylo Ren hat and stuff.
I know. I've had a busy weekend this weekend, and you might notice that I look away. Sometimes that's because I've got a new setup. So I'm in the cinema room still at the moment, but first thing in the morning I'll be moving into my new office that got built over the weekend, which is fantastic. So I've started to put up all my graphic novels and everything. I'll give everyone a showdown when we come back from our little hiatus. But the no hat is my wife is a really big weekend. My wife is already in bed, and I don't have any hats in the room, which I usually have some behind me. And I was doing the right thing, packing everything away today, and I don't have a hat on me. So I'm sorry you've got this balding grey beard going on, but this is me. I do have a brand new Gambit top, which I'm very proud of. So, yes.
Cool. Oh, anyway, so look, we're taking a break for 3 weeks. Look, you can still reach out to us on social media for people who actually do want updates on different projects. We're actually really, really approachable. For example, somebody actually just sent me a message saying for a previous project, I never got my stuff. That's fine. Reach out to us. And I did check. It was shipped. But in all fairness, the mail is the mail. It happens. We sent another copy out. So if you do need to reach out to us, just message or whatever, we fix things up. More importantly, so the 3 weeks are off. So we're going to come back on Anzac Day on the 25th. I think that's the Sunday that it comes back. So, yeah, this is actually going to be a really chill stream. So we've actually got our first question, actually. And from Jackie. So can you see that one, Sean?
How does one make it as an artist? And yes, I love Clash of the Titans. Yeah. I met Sam Worthington before.
You go first. Yeah.
I'll go first on this one. I think Renee and Lauren did really well on our past streams in regards to explaining, how to be a really good artist is one, kind of find your niche or know what you are good at. Understand that field, and then just continually work on your craft. The surprising thing is it was not anything magic about it or anything surprising or that. It's just a lot of hard work, dedication, and sometimes it is about being in the right place at the right time. But both of those people, the thing that I took away when asked the similar question was that they really focused in on what they were good at. So, Renee, went into animation and that was his forte, and then worked out, what classes or courses he needed to do in that regard. You know, Lauren was doing more of more commercial work, more comic book work, and you know, she really did a lot of training and getting mentored in that space. And myself personally, within Comics to Movies, I do think a mentor is a great asset to have, whether that's whether you want to be an artist, a business person, or something like that. So, Sam, what do you think?
No, definitely. Look, the mentor thing, and you'd be surprised. Like, look, I don't know if people know, but I letter professionally. So I think this year has been absolutely crazy because in the last 3 months, I probably lettered close to 400 plus pages. It's just, I don't know what it is about this year compared to last year. It's just everybody press the trigger January the 1st, going, I'm doing a project. But more importantly, when I was basically learning, and I've been practicing now for a good 3-4 years, even previous to all this, I actually approach a lot of professional letters. So DC letterers, DC, Image, whatever, people who are professionally lettered, I've actually approached a lot of them. And they do give you the time of the day. If you just ask nicely, say, hey, look, I want to learn. Here's my stuff. What do you think? The amount of great feedback you get back from them is like, oh, wait, you shouldn't have covered this, or you shouldn't have done this, or have you considered moving this here? Because, I know lettering is just one aspect of it, but I'm thinking more in terms of artistic stuff. I guarantee you, if you approach the people who you look up to and you just ask them, I want to improve, here's what I am, can you give me some advice? I think you will find a lot of them will actually say yes. And I do my give back to that now. I actually get about, in a given week, probably about 2-3, hey, look, I'm thinking of lettering, I've seen your work in blah, blah, blah. Can you help me? And I've given advice back quite a few times. Like, I think one person who actually did approach me, I was going, look, you actually covered a plot element with one of the speech bubbles. This guy's holding some diamonds. You covered the diamonds. You need to, although it looks worse to bring it lower, you can't block that plot element. And he was going, oh, really? He's going, but it looks weird. I'm going, it's better to look weird and not block a plot element than two. And the other thing would be, and this is more from my point, I've actually hired a lot of artists to work through basic stuff, especially for comic book artists. Get your anatomy right. And this is before you can develop your own style, get your basics. So get your anatomy right, landscaping, buildings, get those type of things nailed down. Once you've got that, and I used this one, Humberto Ramos. Once, I guarantee you, if you actually ask him to draw traditionally, he can. I've seen some of his works before he went the really stylized style.
I've got some.
Yeah, because his old X-Men 2099 were actually a lot more traditional. But then he decided, I want to go the crazy Spider-Mans. But the fact that he can do both means he's learned his craft traditionally before he developed his niche. And that's back to what Sean said. Get your basics right, get your mentor, get people to help you. And this is for me, what I look for in an artist is basically someone who's got the basics right. If I'm ever hiring for a role, get the basics right. Once you got your basics right, I'm looking for what special thing you can bring. Because a lot of people can get the basics right after time, but there is that little bit of, this is yours that nobody else can do. Or, and if you have that, that's what I'm really interested in. Basics, and then you have that special little bit. I really hope that helps, Jackie. And man, you're on Facebook, so hopefully you can find either of us or Comics to Movies page. Drop us a message if you want us to take a look. More than happy to try to point you in the right direction as well.
And that leads into the next question. Chris said, how do you find other creatives to work on a project? I would love to make a comic and always thought about drawing it myself, but my skill set is definitely more writing based. How did you guys end up working with the other creatives on your projects?
Oh, I'll run this one first. Then I'm actually really, look, honestly speaking, if you're a writer and and Chris, please reply back as I'm talking if you like, and we can have a bit of a dialogue. Number one, even before you find another creative, complete your script. I mean, like end to end, outline, plot, and build the Bible world. Like actually have a fully fleshed out, completed script. And don't get me wrong, I was in exactly the same position as you were. I procrastinated like crazy until it's something's twigged that one day you just go, you know what? I can't just keep writing outlines. At a certain point, you're going to go, I want to do something, which means you actually finish it. Once you actually have a finished, properly completed script, that's a lot of power in it. And so once you've got that, then it's easier for you to pitch and find artists. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but the amount of people who have come through and you just see them saying, I've got an idea. Let me get an artist. Man, you say, I know, by the way, you've got it. Perfect. So you've got your completed. So to move a novel to a comic book script, it's not trivial. Absolutely not trivial, because as an artist, it's actually difficult for an artist to just get your novel script and transform it. And the thing is, if you have a novel, I don't know, all power to you. Keep writing novels. That's absolutely fantastic. But a comic book script is actually very different. And I'll give you a couple of things if you're trying to translate it. Number one, there's something called the page turn. So if you imagine on page 1 is the page the person reads. In a book, you always need to go, why does the person need to read my next chapter? And I know this is going to cause a bit of controversy. Dan Brown, Da Vinci Code Dan Brown. Later, I mean, I'm not going to critique too much on his writing. I actually do enjoy it, but it's more like it's a bit like Clash of the Titans. It's popcorn. You enjoy it. You don't take it too seriously. But Dan Brown is the master of, oh gosh, I just finished this chapter. I'm stuck. Oh god damn it! I'll read one more chapter before I go to sleep, and then you end up reading the whole book. Similarly with comics, it's different though, because you've got page 1 and you've then got every odd page. So on every odd page, you actually need to do something that they'll flip the page. Whether it's the lead character asks a question, and the answer for the question is on page 4, which gets them to flip the page. You always have this one they call the page flip, which is going, and it's like a mini cliffhanger on each page. So comic book scripts are actually different format-wise to writing, as well as. But anyway, to your original question though, once you've actually translated into a format which is take-well creative, what I would really advise you to do is ask for people to help, and then just go, you know what, it's my project. I want to own it. I'm going to fund. And I know it's look, everybody's tight for money. Nobody's going to begrudge, nobody's going to say, look, we've got millions of dollars, we don't. But if this is a project you really believe in, my best advice is save up for 5 pages. And don't do 5 pages of the guy who's going to do it for $10 because he's just starting out, because you're not going to get what you want. Actually invest that 5 pages. And that 5 pages could be a prologue, could be the action sequence, whatever you want it to be. And then from that 5 pages, then can do multiple things once you have those 5 pages, because you can Kickstarter, you can crowdfund. And if you want to pitch, if you're especially pitching to any major publisher, they expect to see 5 pages. And if you're in Australia and you're trying to get a government grant to do your other work, in Victoria, you need 5 completed pages before they even consider your grant. So before they'll give you the money to say, hey, finish your book because we believe in it, or publish it before they believe in it, you need that. And think of that as an investment in your work. There's an old adage, if you don't believe in your own work, how can you convince somebody else to believe in it? Over to you. I'm sorry. I rambled a bit too much. I did have a
the answer in regards to finding an artist is really simple. It's like there's Facebook groups, there's Fiverr, there's work for hire, there's all that type of stuff. That part I think is super easy to find. The trouble and the hardest part to find is one, a person that you can work with, because a lot of the times, this type of relationship, you need to be open and honest with each other. Sometimes people's feelings get hurt when, the art isn't specifically how you want it, and those type of things. And secondly, you need someone that has the same sort of work ethic as you, and that is hard to find. So in regards to finding an artist and other creatives, that's the easy part. But the weeding down and working with people and working out, who has that same, work ethic as you and who is just as driven as you is the hard part. And that's what you kind of can only determine over time. And sometimes that will cost you money. Sometimes that will cost you a project. But I think there's always something that you can take out of any type of situation that you learn with working with someone else.
Yep. We've got another question actually from Nerds. Oh, and no, we do Jared's one first because it's a quick one. 100%. Whoever you work with, have a contract. No misunderstandings. If it's black and white, you don't get arguments. And this even happens to really big name creatives. Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane had a huge, and these are industry superstars of in the 90s and even now. They had a falling out because they had a handshake. We're going to share the profits.
And Tony Moore.
Yeah. Oh,
Walking
gosh.
Dead, like that.
So
that's another big one.
Because if it's a work for hire, which is absolutely fine, I got no issue with work for hire. If it's work for hire, state it's work for hire. If you want to give them royalties, right in there they get royalties. Or if they get IP licensing or whatever you want, make sure it's crystal clear and make sure both sides sign off on it. Because the biggest disagreement you're going to have is, I said this in this message. It doesn't matter. You have a contract, you signed it. If you want changes to contract, do a change request where both parties resign. It takes a little bit of time, but man, all your headaches go away because I own this. And if I want to sell it on, and the thing is, it also makes it easy because then at least you can say, hey, look, I sold this. I sold it for $1 million. You were the artist. In good faith, I'm giving you a bonus because, we did so well together. You can do good stuff like that, but you don't want it to be, you sold this guy is fighting for rights and all the rest of it. So, no, it's always clear. You want to split the rights? No problems. Make sure it's written, the rights are split. And the rights could be split 60-40, 70-30, 50-50. Make sure you write down exactly what it is. Sean, contracts always?
No, I 100% need them. Don't try and just download one off the internet. With anything, you get what you pay for. If you are downloading something just straight off the internet, the likelihood of it's most likely not going to be, a proper work for hire contract or anything like that. So actually invest, especially if you're going to do more than one project. Invest in actually having a lawyer write a contract. A lot of lawyer firms will have a standard work for hire contract that they will provide at a fee. So 100%, everyone needs a contract. Everyone knows where they stand. And, once you sign a contract, doesn't mean that that's the be all and end all. You can always go back and renegotiate those contracts. So if, the book does well, or, you don't have the funds and you want to sell some of the rights to the artist or whatever, or writer to help them, help the project continue, then you can just get that redone. So, but 100% need a contract. So Nerds Amalgamated, I did miss that one. I do apologize. What's the biggest problem you encounter when it comes to story writing? Is it world building or character building?
So you've actually missed one. There's actually 3 points to every big story: plot, world, and characters. And it's, honestly speaking, it's all three. And what I find as an indie creator, and I've mentioned this a few times, we never know if there's going to be an issue 2, to be really honest. When we put something out there, you're putting your heart on your sleeve a little bit. You're putting something out there and just going, really hope you guys like it. So what you find is usually our issue 1s, and most indie creators' issue 1s are very much plot driven, because we have to tell the story. We touch smattering on the character, we touch a bit of smattering on to the world. Hopefully there's enough for the hook, but it's basically because we don't know if that's going to be an issue 2. We want to tell it, try to give you at least one complete story, so that if nothing else comes out from this, you have the story from beginning to end. So that's what tends to happen. It's not that bad or good, it just is what it is. Now with issue 2 and issue 3, it actually becomes more fun, because you can still do the whole plot part, but it actually becomes, you can now start building the world a little bit, or you can start diving deep into the characters. So what you find is, it's the same with it's even the same with a lot of mainstream comics. The first issue is always very plot driven. Then it's that spin to become more character focused, or more world focused. And look, to be fair, if you're a writer, you love all 3. It's so much fun to do all 3, and it's so much fun when all 3 elements basically they collide. You know, when the something in the character's past or future or his arc interacts with the plot, and the plot's because of this, what's happening in the world that's happening. It's really fun when all 3 elements collide. So it's not a problem. It's a challenge. If you like writing, you love it. It's something you relish. And half the point is trying to fix up the plot holes. Oh gosh, how do I solve this? And it's a lot of fun to do it. Sean?
For me, I always get stuck on world building. So the other 2 points are my downfall, because I absolutely, and I've said this heaps of times, is I come up with great ideas, and I get so stuck in building out that world and how that looks and what other nationalities are around, even though they're not in the series for heaps. So for me, I really do need to concentrate back and bring it back down to those plot elements and the character driven stories. And I think sometimes I've created the character, but not really delved into until after the fact, what drives that character, what is their purpose, what is the reasoning why they do certain things, and that type of stuff. So 100% I'll say that world building is my strong part, and the other 2 are the negative parts. But I want to move on to Lucas's next question, and I will actually chuck a link in the chat, because I 100% have done this, Lucas. I did a Uncanny X-Men 281 Jim Lee homage, which is got Captain America, Black Widow, and Wolverine on it. So I've 100% done it, and I did it as a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and it did great. So I'll chuck that in the comments for you to have a look at. So was there a reason why you were asking? Were you wondering whether that was okay to do, or anything like that? So yeah.
Oh, look, I've done it too. So I'm trying to find it, because I did a Back to the Future one, where the characters were basic. With homage covers, it's absolutely fine. The main thing would be is you give credit. If it's something which is absolutely iconic, like it's let's say the Action comic #1, Superman's holding the car up. It's an iconic cover, and you can't say, hey, I invented that, I did the pose. You know what I mean? If it's something that's so iconic, you can get away a little bit without having to reference it. Best advice would always be, put the references. It's one line. Just say, my love of Action Comics #1. That's why I did this cover. There is
100%, and that's what he was asking, the legalities behind it. 100%. On all of mine, I actually say that it's a homage cover, and I'm not trying to hide the fact that it's a homage cover, and so all of that type of stuff. If you're open and honest, I don't see any issues around it. I haven't seen anyone do it on an indie title, so I'm not sure how that would kind of play out. But definitely on, there's been so many of the Walking Bread. I know Kieran from Halftone Productions did an awesome Talking Bread Walking Dead print cover for one of his books, which was amazing. So there's definitely ones out there. I would always do it for myself personally. I would always do it as a variant or as a special edition. I wouldn't use that as my my main cover, but that's just me personally on that. So
look, and it's fine because, and again, not a lawyer, so usual caveats. Please consult your lawyer for legal advice. Blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
Fine. Okay, now that that's out of the way, look, DC and Marvel have done homages of their own stuff. Like Marvel has stolen some DC covers, the poses, and similarly, and like one of the most iconic ones is, I think, Crisis of Infinite Earths or Infinite Worlds. Please don't quote me. Where Superman's holding up Supergirl. Man, I've seen X-Men. Everybody's used that pose like everywhere. It's such an iconic pose. Everybody knows where it comes from, and I've seen other, Marvel steal from DC, DC steal from Marvel. It's not really stealing because they actually do acknowledge this is not my pose. It's where you get in trouble is, I think, not naming certain artists, because I think they've been, some of them have been called out a few times, is where they steal references. Where there's one particular artist, again, Lucas, I'll message you directly if you really want to get into that particular artist. But he basically stole bits or pieces from other people's artwork and mishmashed it into his cover. That's not on, because that's not that's just basic stealing bits and pieces. But if you do something that's iconic and everybody knows where it's from, and there's also a tag that people use now in the little box, they put after Jim Lee or after whatever. If that's the standard now for doing using the same poses of somebody else, you just put the after whatever, and that just says, hey, look, this is not my pose. I'm not trying to say it's mine. It's after such and such.
Well, look at DC. They did a whole movie run on the New 52. Like, they had Aquaman, they had the Free Willy cover movie poster. They had I think it was Harley Quinn, which was the Pulp Fiction cover. So there was like that.
She-Hulk the Pulp Fiction as well. There was a She-Hulk. She-Hulk.
There's a She-Hulk one as well. So yeah. So as I think, again, we're not lawyers and seek legal advice, but as long as you're acknowledging the artist, the cover and the title of what you're homaging, I think that they're great. For me, as I said, it did really well at San Diego Comic-Con. Everyone kind of knows that Jim Lee cover. It was kind of cool because I've seen a lot of other homage covers for as I said, the Walking Dead, because that was the one that I was going to do. And Jerry, my artist, was like, "Man, I'd like to do something different." And he, when I mentioned this one, he was super rapt to do actually a different homage cover, which is awesome. So yeah,
but that is a cool cover though. That's like it's that's Cap, Black Widow there. Oh man, that's such a good cover.
Yes, and it is 268, Jackie. As soon as I said it, I was like, I don't think that's right. So yes, I've had a big weekend, guys. I do apologize. It's been massive for me. So I'm here and I've showed up, but I am half the man I usually am. So yeah.
Side note though, that particular Jim Lee cover sold for more than 300,000 US. The original.
Wow.
So if you guys ever want, there you go. That's true. 100% true. 100% true. It's
Well, Ash
By the
Matty's
way,
on the show at the moment. He said he's done a bunch of homages recently. I was put after a JSC, for
yeah,
example, under my signature. So yeah,
and that's acknowledged.
that seems to be the new thing a lot of artists are doing. For mine, I did within the copyright information on the inside of my comic. I actually put that it was a homage cover and to the X-Men blah, blah, blah. So yeah.
Well, look, we've got we have like 4 or 5 more questions we haven't touched yet. But let's Clash of the Titans. Just really, really quickly. Nice popcorn movie.
Yes.
I love Sam Worthington. It's one of those movies where you turn your brain off. And by the way, I always like the whole idea of the gods, the mythology behind it, and and I like these ancient gods where they were petty. They were they were a lot of infighting, and half the problems is because the gods caused the problems. And I really like that whole thing. Popcorn movie. I'm sorry, it's not going to win any Oscars or that, but Sam Worthington is awesome. So I really enjoyed it when I watched it.
I love this. I love the original as well with the old school animatronics and everything. Henderson, puppeteering and everything, which is amazing. But my only bugbear about Clash of the Titans and the sequel after that is actually Sam Worthington. I just think he's horrible in it. Yep, I think he's horrible in it.
I think you have to agree to this. But look, I
think this could have been a lot better if it wasn't wasn't for him. I like him as an actor, but there's just been a few roles that he's like. I love him in Avatar. I thought he was phenomenal in Avatar, but this one, I don't know. I just kind of. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't feel like he was a perfect fit for this role. But this is something, and I have watched it just recently with my dad. We went through a whole mythology run. We did this one, Immortals and Hercules, both Cullen Lutz and the Rock one, and it is a great film just to kind of stick on. It's visually fantastic. Like the cost in doing all of the effects must be astronomical. It was absolutely great. But I do remember going to see this both at in 3D and standard as well. And I love the film, but I'll have to agree to disagree, but the one thing that I would say is I'd like to see him replaced.
I hated him in Terminator Salvation. I
didn't want to mention that, but that was the other one that I was just like, oh man,
he was horrible in that. But because it was meant to be too intense. Again, it's way past. I'm just gonna spoil it. The whole heart. I think Salvation had Christian. He had to get half his heart to Christian Bale and all the rest of it, and it's meant to be really intense. And he was just the wrong person for it. But in this one, because it was a little bit less serious, if you will, and they didn't take themselves that seriously, I thought it was okay for it. A lot more questions. Let's just keep powering through because I think.
I did. Before we continue, I do like the nod to the original where they had the little owl. I thought that was kind of cool. It's like, oh, what's this? And they're like, oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. It's like, oh, okay, just throw some out. I was like, oh, that's good. I like that. So, actually, I think that was in the second one, not the first one. First one, first one.
Okay.
Jeez.
I haven't seen the follow. What's the follow up to this one? I haven't seen that one yet.
Good question. I knew you were going to ask that. Hang on 2 seconds.
Google has all the answers.
In my Blu-ray drive, just Wrath of the Titans.
Cool.
Wrath of the Titans.
So while you're taking a break in your holidays, I'll be catch up. I've got to catch up with this and Spartacus. So I promise
actually don't mind. There's not too many where I'm like, the sequels are just as good as the original. But I think I like Wrath of the Titans because it just tells a different story. You know, it kind of gives you more of a connection between the gods and Perseus as well. So you know, I think that was told much better, as well as, you know, just rather than just trying to save a woman. It was more about a father-son relationship. So being a parent and everything, that kind of, you know, appeals to me more. But yeah, a good popcorn movie. If you haven't seen it, 100% see it. I would definitely recommend watch the original first, which is, I think, either late 60s or early 70s. I absolutely loved that. It's still, even for me, I feel like it's held up quite well for the period and when it was made. So and I think Darren has summed this up nicely. Like the mummy movies, they are just big dumb fun. I loved the Mummy movies. The first one is like one of my favorite movies. I've literally got a poster that I've had that since I was like, I reckon I would have been 17, 18 when that came out, and I've had it at my parents' house, and then every house I've moved out of since then, and everything. So I'll have to find a place to stick that up on the wall here as well. So
there was the one thing I didn't like about the Mummy, the franchise, if you will. Look, don't get me wrong, the first movie I loved, absolutely loved. But what I didn't like when they started doing 2, 3, 4, you know, all the rest of it, was they started making linkages that didn't need to be linked. Like Rachel Weisz's character was the reincarnation of blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Rick's character and his son was, and it didn't need to be. It could have just been wrong place, wrong time, or you killed my mommy, dad, I'm going to come after you. You know, it could have just been all that. It didn't need all this mythical linkages. And I thought, you know, there are times where you don't need to link everything all together.
Yeah. And the original was in 1981. I didn't realize it was that late, but that's a bloody good year. 1981. I don't know who was born that year, but it's a bloody good year. So, you know, so I might be turning 40 in a couple of months. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's go. I think there's a question. Now that we've done the movie, because we always have to do the movie, I think Nerds 1022, we haven't got that question yet. If you can scroll back.
1022. What's your advice?
Yeah. I'll get this one first. And things. Look, two things. Have 2 notebooks. And it doesn't have to be physical notebooks. It can be 2 Word documents. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be physical. Have two physical documents. The first physical document is for any random idea you get. Oh my God, wouldn't a cyberpunk story be really cool? Oh man, I love diesel punk, or I want to do the Jetsons on this, you know. Have one book just for random ideas and just jot any random idea down in notebook 1. Notebook 2 is where you finish stuff off. And I cannot stress this enough for any creator. If you never finish one script, you're not going to progress. You have to finish. You pick one idea from notebook 1, and you go notebook 2, and you finish the script off. It doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. It just needs to be finished. Then you can always edit and polish it up. Now, if you never make it past notebook 1, honestly, in life, that's fine. You know, you've got a lot of ideas. You might want to try to get somebody else to finish it. That's cool. But if you really want to take it to, I want to do the next level, you have to start your notebook 2, start with one idea and finish it. Until you finish that, don't write any more notebook 1. Finish notebook 2, finish that one story, one idea first. Then when you've done that, edit, change, update, then you can go back to notebook 1, pick your next idea and bring it across. That's how you organize yourself. You just finish stuff off. Sure.
Yeah, that's great advice. I don't have notebooks, but got folders. Very similar similar thing. It's like an idea folder, and I just chuck in ideas for a different series on that. But I think 100% on what you were saying is that you have to finish something. I think the biggest thing that we find, especially in the indie industry, is that no one ever finishes anything. You know, we always all of us as creators want to tell that, 50 issue story arc, an awesome big grand tale, and, have a big climactic finish and all that. But realistically, until you've done a 10-page story, until you've done a single issue, until you've done a trade paperback, you kind of have not completed anything. So, it gets very difficult to, especially if you are disorganized, to kind of complete anything. So, 100% what you were saying before, Stephen, is that, complete that first script, whether you show anyone or not, or do anything with it or not, that needs to be finished first. Just continuously coming up with ideas and not completing anything, it doesn't do anything, because you have all these ideas and nothing is ever finished, and then you're like, oh, I kind of, no one knows what I'm doing and I haven't been able to do it, and this person's passing me and that person's doing more. And it's like, well, you need to finish something. You need to kind of get out there and put something out there. So, yeah.
Okay, looking back. Oh, gee.
Do you plan out everything before you start writing to signing, or do you plan loosely and allow your first draft to flesh out character plot elements? For me, I definitely don't plan anything. I usually have a beginning and an end in mind. One really good advice I kind of gotten when I first started out was that, listen to your audience, and sometimes they will take your characters in a completely different way than you intended. So being rigid and not kind of understanding that can be a detriment to your audience and your story. But I think it all comes down also to personal choice in regards to that. But yeah, I very loosely tell where it begins, where it ends, and then kind of go along the story. And sometimes we'll add things in, take things out, and flesh it out as we kind of go. So at the moment, I've kind of started writing in 3 arc blocks. So 3 single issues or a trade type thing. Tell that one, and then do the next one, and then do the next one, with always an end idea at the end. So yeah.
Yep. Oh, look, 100% agree with you. Look, I've written different things, and honestly, some of them your mind is working so fast, you're barely typing to keep up with what you're thinking of writing. And some of them you have to come back and re-script, and your head's all over the place. And some of them it's very linear, and some of them is I know how it's going to end, I don't know how to start it. So the answer to it is, look, there is no real way to do it. It's sometimes you just sit there, and I think I can't remember who mentioned it before, but one of the writers basically says, you just type, you just write stuff. Some days writing 300 words is a slog. Some days you do 3,000 words that day. You get it. But the whole point is it's consistency. If you make yourself say, I'm going to sit here and write at least 300 every day, and every day you write 300, a novel is 90,000 words. 300 days, you get there.
And I need to apologise because I think I said Ray Henderson before. So thank you, Darren, for pointing that out. As I mentioned, I'm not up with it tonight, so I do apologise if I speak around in riddles and turns. But yes, Darren, thanks for pointing that out. So yeah, always wonder when these go live and always go up on YouTube afterwards, and he's always up there. I'm like, should I delete that episode because totally just ruined that person's name or said something ridiculous? But then I'm like, I tell you what, no, I've gone who I am, and I make mistakes, and
Look, eventually we will tidy up the video library though. So just as a heads up. So if you haven't watched the earlier episodes, go back, rewatch it. This is your last chance, because we will come to a point where if it's too much, we will go back and tidy some of them up. So we'll basically remove some of the really older ones, just because we want to make sure that the library stays relatively fresh. We're nowhere at that point yet, don't get me wrong, but there will be a point where we go, oh god damn it, we're up to 500 videos. Let's start, getting rid of the earlier ones. I want to reach that point where me and Sean actually discuss which ones we're going to have to start. The ones which I embarrass myself, that's the ones I start getting rid of quickly.
This is a good question, and this is what I loved about Pacific Rim. Speaking of big dumb fun, Godzilla versus Kong Force, I cannot wait to watch this. I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm getting a giant lizard smashing a monkey, or a monkey smashing a giant lizard. I'm not
a gorilla.
A gorilla, sorry. And I'm not expecting a great, in-depth storyline of love and hate and mystery. And I'm going to go and I'm going to switch off my brain for an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes, however it goes. I cannot wait to see this.
I'll be actually more interested in thinking, how the hell did they get the lizard and the gorilla to fight? It'll be like, okay, what can we do? We're gonna make them fight for something.
There can be only one.
But maybe I don't know. But look, I am really looking forward to it. Look, I've watched. I'm a very big fan of the old Japanese Godzilla movies. So he wasn't good to start off with. They just loved him so much that they actually made him a good character. But he used to be, anyway. But Godzilla's cool.
You digress.
I want Godzilla to win. I haven't seen the movie yet, but if I was betting person, Godzilla has his super breath. King Kong's got nothing on it.
just get his jaw and snap it open. That's it. The Scorpion King was so bad, but such a good. Yes, it 100% is. It's so bad, but it's so good. And that CGI of him as the Scorpion King is absolutely wonderful. That has not aged well whatsoever. So,
I watched the Scorpion King in the cinemas.
We do not acknowledge the third one. So.
But I watched in the cinemas. Look again. Not every movie has to be thinking deep or whatever. Some movies can just be fun, and as long as we acknowledge it, like my wife loves rom-coms.
Furious, man. I love Fast and the Furious. It's like, because I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get cars, guns, explosions. I don't have to think. There's not going to be like a big massive twist. Like everyone's going to come back at one stage if they just keep doing enough movies. So I don't have to get upset when someone dies because they just, come back with either amnesia or, alien technology or whatever. Like, I'm just waiting for Fast and the Furious in space. I'm just like, they're going to have rockets and,
a space one?
Do a race around the moon or something. It's going to be cool. So...
There's a space. I must have missed it. Is there a space Fast and Furious or?
No. I'm just being silly now. Just being silly.
Oh gosh, I'm thinking.
Jackie said he saw it last night. Amazing. He didn't realize they were doing an extended version, extended universe. Yeah. Well, that was the whole idea of when they did the last Kong, was tying it all in to do it. So yeah.
There is a
no way. I don't know if this is real, but he's saying they are going to space, apparently. I was just joking. I was just being silly. But it doesn't surprise me.
We'll send the characters into space. Has confirmed the franchise is headed to space. And it's going to happen sooner than you think. Fast and Furious, due out in 2021, will send the characters into space.
Oh, my God. Okay. Maybe that is going a little bit
first,
too
and then
far.
the comments come true.
Oh, jeez, that's hilarious.
Are you sure you don't write for them or something, or you just drop?
I should, Hollywood, Just call me. I know what's in. You know, I'm just thinking, well, what else could they do? They've driven a car, you know, in Dubai from one building to another. I'm like, well, what's the next level of that? I'm like, let's just, you know, he's already been in a plane and everything. I'm like, okay, let's just send him to space, man. You know, it could be the fastest 10-mile on the moon. You know, boom. Like,
well, number 9 is in space.
so.
There's one afterwards, Expendables. I think Jackie's comment, and I'll touch on this one first. So I think about 2 minutes ago, she was put up. I grew up on 80s movies, yeah, especially 80s actions movies. You're talking the Van Dammes, your Stallones, and there used to be, without a doubt, about 2 every year. It was very consistent, and until they started getting old and all the rest of it. But there was 2 every year. You know, Bruce Willis is part of that as well, and the fact, and you know, they're all aged out. You know, you can't, you know, as an action movie franchise, a lot of people just aged out. But I love the Expendables because it was just that fun again. They just brought back all these aged characters who as a kid I watched, I enjoyed, I loved, and they just threw them all back in together again. You can tell half the stunts they've aged a bit. You can tell they're a bit slower, but they make it fun. They joke about it. You know, they acknowledge that they're no longer who they used to be. I loved it. Again, mindless popcorn flick. And
the third one is my favorite. With you know, the new and the old guard. I just thought that was fantastic, and you know, they just up to the ante each time with the amount of action people that you get. And again, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so you know, you're talking about Rambo, Commando, Raw Deal, you know, Bloodsport. You know, I even used to watch all the American Ninjas, and I think that got up to like American Ninja 8 or something ridiculous like that. Universal Soldier, like there was just like, you know, there hasn't been, I feel, other than maybe the Rock, a real big action type person that's kind of, you know, churned out like movies, you know, once every 2 to 3 years, like they did in the 80s and 90s. Like, you know, you Bruce Willis, you had all the diehards, you know, type of thing. And you know, I tell you what, I wouldn't mind. Like, I think probably the most recent stuff, I guess, is probably Jason Statham, who's done like a lot of the, you know, Crank, Transporter, and then now into the Fast and Furious franchise and that type of stuff. But you know, he's probably the only one that kind of comes to mind for, you know. I think a lot of other actors don't want to kind of get pigeonholed for one type of thing. And, you know, Jackie's probably going to love me for saying this, but Jason Momoa is very good at you know, for the type of size and his acting style, he's actually quite good at playing different characters almost exactly the same. Like, you know, Stargate Atlantis is very similar to the character who plays in as Aquaman, is very similar to the character who plays in Frontier and all those type of things. But he's able to kind of just change it enough to you know, make you be invested in each character. So, but I love the Expendables. Third one is my favorite. So,
and the one that and again, this is more into Asian cinema. So look, I grew up as well, all the Jet Lis, the Jackie Chans, you know, the Donnie Yens of the world, and they used to churn out one every year as well. So and I know they've slowly made their way to you know, the US market, but before when they used to be in the Hong Kong market, oh man, I get what you mean. These certain actors is once a year, here's the new movie. Once a year, here's the new movie. I think it's been replaced though by the MCU a lot, where you get where you get now the consistency from the studios, where instead of the once a year you get the new Arnie movie, once a year you get another Marvel movie or another DC movie. I think it's changed that way, that they've built the franchises that way already, as opposed to building the franchise around a particular actor. So you won't see that Arnie movie every year now, but guess what? You see a Marvel movie every year.
And even with like other actors like Liam Neeson, Denzel Washington, and Keanu Reeves, like they've done a lot of action flicks, but they've done a lot of other stuff as well, where you didn't really see. I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger still did Kindergarten Cop and Twins and that type of stuff as well. So. But I guess he was probably more known for the action, where Keanu Reeves did a lot of different stuff, very early on in his career and everything. So, but yeah.
Just checking, no more questions.
Restore the Snyderverse. We talked about that last week, yes, I 100% would. Not being a massive DC fan, I would 100% if Snyder did another movie and they were redoing that universe, I would 100% see the next one. I would have no reservations about seeing that whatsoever. So
Fifth Element. That's one thing from Grace. How about the Fifth Element, if you want to pop that?
Fifth Element, that holds up so well for when it was made. Again, don't quote me on when it was made, but I'm
I
guessing
will find out.
mid 90s, I want to say. But that holds up so well, with the prosthetic masks to the actual special effects that they use on that. It is an amazing film. Actually, great storytelling, and made me care about the characters, on top of just being an action flick. I really, was invested in them. I would have loved to have seen a spin-off or a sequel to that. But at the same time, sometimes I think it's great just to be able to tell a story and leave it the way it is. What did you think of it, Stephen?
I loved it. Look, Bruce Willis. I can't remember the actress's name. I just know Lilu, if I remember. 1997, by the way, when it came out. I loved it. It was fun. It's and oh man, there was one guy, the comedian. What was his name?
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock was in it, wasn't he?
Chris Rock was in it. Gary Oldman is the villain.
Look, how much fun is that? You've got
he was great.
Cast of superstar Mila Djokovic. That's it.
She's out of all of the Resident Evils and everything.
Yeah. Look, it was Chris. Actually, wait, it was Chris Tucker, according to Nerds. So.
Chris Tucker. Sorry, not Chris Rock. Chris Tucker.
Chris Rock was with Jackie Chan in the Rush Hour franchises.
Yeah.
No, but look, it was a lot of fun, and it actually has held up. I think I saw it. I saw it probably about 2-3 years back. Just hell of it, watched again. It's still a lot of fun. Absolutely, a lot of fun. I think we've covered everybody's questions.
We've done a lot. So I just want to do a quick update on my projects. A couple of weeks ago, Stephen did a show without me. People know that I was unwell. That did push back a lot of my projects 2 to 3 weeks, unfortunately. So Talos of Sparta, I have sent out all the digital rewards over last week and this weekend. So if you back to Talos of Sparta, the digital rewards will be either in your inbox, and I have messaged everyone individually on Kickstarter as well with a link to be able to download the digital copy of Talos of Sparta. Xct Infinity is running a little bit behind, but we have got all of the the letters now finally done. Stephen has sent them through early last week. We got it all ticked off by the game company, and we are now just setting up a page for people to vote. So it's been a while since we talked about Xct Infinity, but part of that Kickstarter was you were able to vote on the direction of this mini-series. So we are setting up a page where people can vote and how we're doing that. So super excited about that, but that is still probably about 2 to 3 weeks away, and the physical rewards will be sent out early May, most likely, for that one. The Tales of Sparta ones we're hoping to have printed this week, and then sent out either the week after Easter or after I get back from my holidays, because I'm taking some time off. In the meantime, we have got half of Fractured Shards completed as well, so we're super excited with that. Stephen is already working on Volume 2 with Dan Furigal, so we're super excited to have that, and Kickstarter will be done for that one late this year. On top of that, I've got the 13th Labour coming to Kickstarter at the end of April, which is the story of Hercules being ripped out of time and thrust into the future, where one of his descendants needs to battle in an intergalactic tournament to save the human race, which is going to be fantastic. And with that, I've had to delay our submission process on our website, and that will be up at the end of April for people that are looking to get published through Comics2Movies. But super excited to have that once I've updated all the website. And then the last thing I've got is the Xct Anthology that will be releasing in middle of May. Middle of June, and that will run until the beginning of July. And that's for an anthology of all short stories. So super excited about that. Some amazing artists and writers in this anthology. So super excited to get that out there. So that is all from me. Thank you very much for everyone attending and asking all the questions. But I'll pass it over to Stephen and see whether he's got anything else he would like to add. So.
Not much else, actually. Look, and number one, thanks to all the chat for all the questions. I know we go off on tangents quite a bit, but look, it's been really fun. And again, like per usual, we are real people. So Comics2Movies page, Stickbit page, find us, hit us up, ask us questions. We'll do our best to reply. Or if you come onto the chat, remember, there's a 3-week gap before we come back on the 25th. But if you come back on the 25th, feel free to ask questions. We're more than happy to go on slight tangents to have a chat with you guys.
Yeah, don't worry, Ben. We didn't talk about it for very long, so you didn't miss much, mate. We're answering questions more than we were talking about it. But just for a recap, we loved it. I didn't like Sam Worthington, but
I like Sam Worthington.
Stephen loves Sam.
That was it.
We disagree on that one point.
Yeah. Look, I'm actually having a lot of fun with Fractured Shards. I've sent through some of the plot elements to Dan already, and he's come back with some of them. I'm going to have the second script hopefully ready in about 2 weeks. I'm going to basically, during Easter, I've got some time blocked aside for myself just to sit down and finish it off. I can't wait to get the first draft to the guys. And the best thing about it is, and look, number one, thank you to everybody who helped support Fractured Shards, because guess what? We can go straight to Volume 2 without any delay. Because I know, look, full transparency as per normal, with Volume 1, we had to wait until the Kickstarter was successful for us to able to progress for finish off Volume 1. You guys were so supportive. We actually reached a point where we can move straight to Volume 2. So what we would love is when we do launch on Volume 2 is there will be very little delay, because 90% should be finished by then, and it'll just be the release. And what we're really hoping for is when that's happening, Volume 3 and 4 will come into pre-production. And I mean, it would be amazing if we even got into some sort of like quarterly schedule, like every 3-4 months, expect the next issue to come out. If we got to that type of thing, that would be absolutely fantastic. And we sincerely thank everybody for your support to even, try to make this happen. So thank you very much. In terms of Wordsmith, we've got all the drawn-in pictures in, so that's very exciting. It's bubbling away. Then April update will be coming through. I try to do an update once a month. So April update, hopefully I can show you a whole bunch of new photos, new pictures. Yeah, it's really exciting. That's it for me. Sean, you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I was going to say we missed Terra Olympus, which I want to say we also got the graphic novel Young Reader hot list for libraries, which was awesome. So that got on the hot list. So we're hoping to get Terra Olympus Volume 2 into more libraries and everything, which is super exciting. So congratulations, Stephen. You did a lot of hard work on that. So that's awesome. And we've almost got Volume 3 finished, and we'll be kickstarting that towards the middle of the year as well. So I'm super excited to release that one as well.
And the good news about Volume 3, which I'm really, really happy to share. And again, thank you to everybody who supports Star Olympus from the beginning. It's, again, we can't do this without you. But guess what? Artwork is done. And Sean has seen it. I've actually let it almost all of it. I think there's like 1 or 2 pages I haven't done yet, but I've let it everything except for 1 or 2 pages. The time frame from end of campaign, because we're going to launch in about the June-July time frame, end of campaign to fulfillment will be a very, very short for Terra Olympus, because again, that's what we want to try to do. Is if we can get successful campaigns building, the time frames we can just absolutely shrink down in terms of when the campaign ends to when we can get the book out to you guys.
Yeah, that's the good thing about the Kickstarters we've all got running moving forward. The 13th labor is totally completed, so I'll literally be going to print while the funds are coming through. Same with Xct Monsters, that's complete. Or we're just waiting on 1 or 2 pages left on that one, but that will be complete by the time we go to Kickstarter. So it literally will go to print as we're getting the funds. So those ones you won't have the delay that we've had over this last couple of Kickstarters, but super excited for what 2021 holds. So thank you everyone that's supported us so far. We really appreciate it. Also, thank you for asking such amazing questions. This has been quite fun, being able to answer questions this way and interact with you guys like this. So I look forward to doing this in 3 weeks' time. Everyone stay safe over Easter. Have a great time. Spend it with family, friends, or just get rip snorting drunk if that's what you want to do. I can definitely tell you I'll be having a few beers and relaxing over the next few weeks. So thank you very much, guys. And again, remember, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe and notify bell.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, guys.